today I'm very lucky to be meeting Azure, who is in Australia this evening, which is very cool. I'm in my flat in London and using a light behind my screen because the natural light is so bleak. But I would just love for you to introduce yourself in whatever way you feel comfortable, really.
Hi, I'm Azure. I am a singer-songwriter. I'm living in Sydney, Australia, which is also where I'm from. What else did I say? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's great.
I was like, what else?
That's more than most people can say. Sydney, musician. What's nice about hosting this interview is I get to ask you exactly what I want, which is not really nice. So obviously I've done a bit of background research. I've been listening to your music, which I love. And I also read a few interviews you've already done online, just to see kind of what you've already spoken about and if there's like recurring themes which you feel passionate about, because that's what I find quite interesting. But we do share in common that we're at choir at school.
Yes.
Which I loved. So I was like, right, I've got to ask you about that. For you, when did you gain the confidence to move from singing in a choir, which is like a very, a group thing? When did you get the confidence to go from that to singing on your own?
I did choir kind of all through school, from primary school to high school. And then I did like group singing lessons I maybe started those at like 8 or so.
Okay.
And then from that, I then went into like solo singing lessons. Singing with a group of people, there's just an energy about it that I don't know if you can find in many other places. I think that's why like concerts are so incredible, because it's like you and the audience, which is kind of becomes like a choir. So I also feel like I took that on into when I sing as a solo artist, is that like I love the idea of all these overlapping harmonies, because they in turn become like an Azure choir. So I made my own choir in a sense.
Yeah, I guess that's also the case. Like I absolutely love going to live music. And I went to something recently, which was one of the first kind of events in the UK after COVID, where there was a lot of people. And I got really tearful. I was like, it was so emotional that everyone's brought together, and you just can't recreate that. Like watching shows online and everything, it's great. And you probably have a better view of like how, in terms of how close you are to the singer, because the camera can be right next to them. But it's almost better to be there with thousands of people. Like that's kind of what you're going for, because you're just bouncing off each other.
Energy of being like in a physical presence with other people. It's definitely something that I feel like, especially in this time, people are realizing how important that is. And so I think when we are able to have that back in unlimited ways, I think it's just going to be so much more special, especially in music.
I don't know if you have this or if you actually have had the same thing, but even sometimes if I've heard an album by an artist and then I go and see it live, it almost makes the album new to me again. And I had that a little bit with a band called Bombay Bicycle Club, who I really, really enjoy listening to. I went and saw them at Ali Pali in London, which is like an incredible venue. And when I came away, I'm now like re-obsessed with an album I'd kind of like lost touch with or lost a connection with. And I think it gives you that memory, and then every time you listen to that album, it takes you back to the concert. So it's like you paid for one night to go see someone, but every time you listen to the music, you get to kind of have that
relive it. Or will you hope for as an artist is that thing that I guess you created, that when you play it live, it is that experience for people where they don't come away thinking, oh, like, I don't know, that it was lesser than the album, or that they didn't get taken to that place. Like, I think the ultimate thing is when you can give someone an album, and then when they come and see you play, it just like
eccentric
exceeds exceeds that.
You talk quite openly about you don't hide that you've had like highs and lows in your career, and if anything you think that's maybe what makes the highs higher, is that you have these lows to recognize what you want back and what you had which you hadn't thought about recently, or it kind of gives you rose tinted glasses when things go well. I love that. And I was wondering if there was like a figure in your life who had maybe given you that attitude to looking at the negatives in a positive way.
It definitely started for me not in a physical person. It definitely started for me with nature. I think as growing up, I didn't really, like, I grew up in such a beautiful place, but I wasn't able to connect with the people as much. And so I guess nature became my friend in a sense. And it was, I guess, that thing that I saw in nature was that, like, you know, in a storm, when it's sunny, like when it's raining, when the wind's blowing hectically, like there was such beauty in all those things, and we can see that and look at it as beautiful. So why can't we see that the same within ourselves? Because at the end of the day, nature is literally within us. It's literally the way, you know, it's how we breathe.
Yeah, I love that.
So
I think it's that thing, and I don't know if you moved to London for a certain amount of time or whether you've spent time here, but we do have so many stormy days like that. And I think you just start having that attitude, or it's so nice to have the attitude that that's really beautiful, but just in a different way. It's like you start glamorizing a day watching TV, or you start glamorizing like running inside with your friends and getting hot chocolate. Like there's so much good. And I think it's that thing of not wishing time away, because you can't control the weather, and
exactly,
you still get loads done. I watched your music videos, and especially in Dizzy, I really enjoyed your dancing. And I feel like with musicians, every musician I've met so far, you know, there is that joint enjoyment of music and dancing, and they come quite naturally together. Because even watching my nephew, who's 1.5 years old, when we put music on, he dances and it's hilarious. But it's kind of what you want to do. And I was wondering what your favorite memory was, dancing with friends, or when you first, maybe it was a dance lesson when you were younger, or when did you start to enjoy that combination?
While I was at choir, I was also dancing. So I started in ballet when I was about almost 6. And I basically, I did ballet, jazz, tap, contemporary, hip hop. Like I went through all of them.
Everyone gives it a go, don't they? Maybe one of these will stick. Ballet.
Exactly. Ballet is always first, isn't it?
I don't know why. It's the hardest one.
I know. They kind of connected when I started doing like my solo singing lessons. It was connected to my dance school. So at our like end of year concerts, I was able to sing as well as dance. Like this natural instinct, really. Like
it's crazy.
And it's really interesting, the fact, I don't know, when you can see people that become, I guess, even fearful of that, even though, like, whether they think, I don't know, oh, I can't dance because I don't know how to dance, or this doesn't look good. But it's like literally moving your body in any way is such an expression. It's such a release. Like, I can just think of so many times when it's like, even to do with your moods, like if you're in a terrible mood, if you just like start dancing or moving to something, you're literally moving the energy out of your body. I feel like I'm doing this like 50 million times.
I was when I was thinking about that question, there's a phrase like dance like nobody's watching. And that phrase, I was just thinking about it, and I thought, God, I wish that was the other way around, because you know, when you are at live music, that seems to go away. And it's just that is why it's magical, because it's like seeing music live has that power to take away those like preconceptions of how you should act. Where would you most like to perform your music?
Well, I've only had the chance. I've only was able to do my very first live shows at the end of last year in Sydney. I literally just want to perform wherever it is. I will go wherever I need to go for my music. I know that's for sure. Like, I've always been a wanderer. I'm very grateful for where I came from. As I said, it's a very stunningly beautiful place, and it's where I first made those connections with nature that I believe has made me into who I am, and I hope that it can be seen through how I create. I could never create something that wasn't reflective of myself or, you know, my personal journey, because I feel like if you can't connect to something, then I can't expect someone else to take it and connect to it. And I think music is, at the end of the day, about that relatability and people not feeling alone. And
And it's
So
especially,
yeah,
it's especially brave to do it like at a young age, but then you realize so many people at this age turn to music, and it's one of those things that is a very personal choice. I was speaking to a friend the other day and saying it's not really, we don't really follow our friends on Spotify, which is mad because we all have it, and we're all you know, but it's like it's a very private thing. And even that, I follow my sister on it, and she was listening to some kind of like disco rave the other day, and I just thought I didn't want to message them and tell them, and then I was like, actually I'm gonna unfollow her. Like, it feels very private and you can share it publicly, but it is such a personal reflection of your mood that day.
There's nothing more special than thinking about like any one person deciding to choose to listen to your song at any moment in time.